What's up, y'all? I'm Reed the Fishmonger, and today we're gonna teach you how to cut a fish like this. Have you guys ever heard of canoeing your fish? Today, we're gonna teach you how to canoe cut a beautiful Bronzino. Bronzino is the perfect fish to teach you how to canoe on because it's such a popular fish to eat whole. First thing we wanna do is snip the fins off. I like leaving the tail on because when I cook the whole fish, it gets brittle and crunchy and I like eating it. Bronzino are gonna be fairly similar to snapper, but it's gonna have a higher fat content. So that same mild flakiness that you like from a snapper, but it's gonna be more buttery, which is what makes it very popular. When scaling, I like starting from the tail and making long, smooth motions. We're fishmongers, time is money. So those long, smooth motions get the job done nice and quick. Bronzino is also a great fish to learn how to do this on because the scales come off easily and the meat separates from the ribs easily when you're going to butterfly or when you're going to go canoe it, and you'll see about that later. When scaling, you want to make sure you always hit the bottom of that fin, top of that fin, the belly, the collar's right there. Great part of the fish. You want to make sure that the scales are off so that way you can eat that crispy skin when you're done. When we're canoeing our fish, we're actually going to leave the guts in and have to take them out later. You'll see. For now, we're going to take the gills out. We're going to take our scissors, snip right at the throat there, pull back, snake your finger underneath all of those gills, and you want to make sure you're pulling from the base around where the guts are, not from under the lip. So we're going to pull from there, then it's under the lip, comes out easily. That beautiful bright red color is how you know you have a nice fresh fish. We're going to try to shove our fingers in there and get most of these guts out. Whatever we can't get out, we'll get when we're taking the rest of the bones out. And kind of pick at that to get that out. And at this point, there's no exposed meat anywhere on the fish, so we can still use fresh water to rinse it off. Once there's exposed meat, we do not let fresh water touch our fish. The skin and the membrane on the stomach lining is protecting our fish from this hose water. There we go. Now that it's nice and clean, we're gonna dry it off. We're gonna dry off the outside of our fish, dry off the inside a little bit. Now we're ready to rock and roll. All right, just like butterflying a fish, these are the tools we need for our surgery. Knife, scissors, and pin bone tweezers. Now when you're filleting a fish, you start cut behind the head. We are not going to do that. We are just going to make a nice incision right on top of where that dorsal fin was. And we're essentially going to fillet it without making a cut behind the head and without breaking through to the other side. So you want to rest your knife right on top of that skeleton and pull towards the head, letting the skeleton guide your knife, not losing out on any of that delicious Bronzino meat. Tip of the knife, base of the ribs, angle your knife slightly up. Make sure your knife is not levitating like this, but resting on the skeleton like that. Super important. What we just did was separate the connection the pin bones make to the ribs. Now we can take the tip of our knife and start sliding down the second side. Take your time with this. You do not want to cut through the other side. If you cut through the other side, you do not have a canoed fish. Now we're going to rest our knife right on top of those rib bones and slide down. Letting those rib bones guide our knife, push down on those rib bones with a little bit of pressure so that way you don't break through the skin. It'll look something like this, and if there's a couple of those top rib bones connected still, you can usually use your finger and push on them, and they'll finish separating. So all the rib bones are right here. None of them are in your fillet, and it's fully connected on the belly and on the base. We're gonna flip them over and repeat the process. We're gonna make a nice little incision right on top of where the dorsal fin was, slide down, and make sure your knife is resting on the skeleton and let the skeleton guide your knife. Now that you're to the center, you want to use the tip of your knife to go to the top of that spine. Now you can use the tip of your knife to hit the second side of that spine. That way you go over the spine, not losing any of the meat going around it. And gently go to the bottom without cutting through the skin. Now, we're going to use the tip of our knife at the base of the ribs. Angle your blade slightly up and make sure your knife is not levitating like this, but pushed down. And what we just did there was separated the connection the pin bones make to the ribs. It'll be hard for you to tell, but right where my finger is where the pin bones were. These pin bones right here were connected to the ribs right here. Now we could take our knife, use just the tip of it, and apply pressure on those ribs while you're sliding down, because you do not want to break that skin. If you break that skin, you do not have a canoed fish. See the base of the rib bones right there? That's what you want. Now you can take your finger and slide down those ribs and separate the rest of them. And look at that. All of those ribs are fully detached from your fillet. Now we're going to take our scissors, snip it right at the base. You can pull this skeleton out, but I like using the scissors to make sure you get all the cartilage that's at the base as well. That stays behind when you tug instead of snip. Now, as you can see, we have the entire spine right here with the rib bones left on the spine. Now, my favorite part, we're gonna get a good grip on that skeleton, apply some pressure on the head, and pull backwards. And look at that, no meat left behind. There's your entire skeleton with all the ribs on there. And there's your beautiful canoed branzino. The only step left is to pull the pin bones out. We're gonna lay it on its side, use our finger to find where the pin bones start, get a good grip on that bone, and pull out, and there it is. Flip it over. You want to make sure you're not grabbing the pin bone at the top of the bone, but pushing down a little bit, so that way you get a better grip on it and you don't accidentally just break the top of the pin bone off, leaving the fragment still in the fillet. And now you've got a beautiful, boneless, canoed branzino. And now you can stuff it with whatever you like, roast it in the oven, throw it on the grill. It'll be phenomenal. And that's a canoe cut. Makes for a beautiful presentation, sure to be a hit with the fam. Have a killer day. It looks like he's about to go in for surgery, which he is. Make a little incision, crunch through those bones, and slide all the way down. We're gonna open up the head, tap, tap. You've got a perfectly butterflied branzino.